What is going on, guys? Winter Kills here, and welcome to a brand new episode of One Deck, One Month. I'm really excited for this one because if you guys don't know already, we are playing Marincess this month. And this deck, I actually really do like quite a bit. It's a deck I've played very little of in the past, and I don't think I've actually ever played it in a tournament setting until recently because I have been taking it to locals the past couple weeks just to kind of like practice with it and test out certain builds that I've been working on. But as of recently, I think I have a really solid build decided on, and if you want to see the profile for it, I'll leave a link to it up in the top right for you guys to check out. I also made a test hand video too recently, so if you guys want to see how the deck operates, maybe you don't know what Marincess does, right? Go check that video out as well, just so you know what we're working with. But we basically are playing Water Salamangreat just to keep things simple. And yeah, guys, I am so excited to finally be playing Marincess on this series. It's a deck that I think has got a lot of potential, and it is nice to be back on the rogue train one more time. Now, there is something I want to kind of fill you guys in on. We will be doing Speedroids again very, very soon as Synchro Storm is officially TCG legal. We will be picking up the Speedroids again, and I wanted to pick some cool decks in between the Drytron month and the start of the Speedroid month, which we should still have time for one different deck between the end of this one and the start of Speedroids. So I'll let you guys stay guessing on what that deck is going to be. But today is Tuesday, and you know what that means. We've got locals, so let's get this month started off right. So real quick before I get going, there are just a couple of things I want to update you guys on. The first one is that going forward, I'm going to start recording most, if not all, of my matches every Tuesday local I go to. And the main reason I'm doing this because in the past, I've done really good at a Tuesday local, even gone 4-0, and I wasn't recording anything because it's something I typically wouldn't do. That is going to change starting today. And another thing is that today I'm actually going to be recording feature matches, which for those that don't know, I typically record them on Saturdays just because it works better and there's more people, so there's a wider variety of decks typically. But last Saturday, something interesting happened. The power at our locals went out. Everybody still showed up, hoping it would turn back on. People were dueling literally in the shadow realm, but unfortunately the power did not turn back on in time for us to have a tournament. So everybody had to get kicked out and go home, but it's all right. We still get to have a tournament today, which is awesome, and we get our feature matches recorded regardless. So, oh, and one last thing is I'm not going to be doing any vlogging today. I'm strictly just going to be getting some match footage for you guys, and I'll save the vlogging segment for Saturday like we normally do. The only reason I don't want to do that is because if I had an entire vlog segment in now and one later, my fear is that these videos would get a little too long, and they're already long enough as is, I feel. And not only that, but just the amount of work that would have to go into them would absolutely double, and these videos take a long enough time as is. And that's why every single like, comment, and share that you guys put on this video helps out a ton. Also, subscribe if you haven't already. Oh, and before I leave, I should probably show you guys what the deck list I'm playing looks like tonight. I did just upload a deck profile a few days ago, so if you want to get detailed explanations as to why I'm playing the cards I'm playing, I'd recommend going to watch that because I'm not going to sit here and go through all of my card choices. Go check that out if you haven't, but there's the list. I'll see you guys in a few hours or tomorrow. Alright, everybody, welcome to Friday, and I gotta say, what a tournament experience we had this past Tuesday. We actually ended up going 4-0, securing a first-place finish with our Marincess deck. First place deck profile will be going up after this video. I didn't want to upload it beforehand, obviously, to not spoil anything. This has happened a couple times in the past in One Deck One Month where the 4-0 came before it started, but not this time. We actually ended up securing a 4-0 within the first week of filming. I recorded my rounds 3 and 4 matchups against Invoke, Trickstar, and Drytron, which I believe are feature matches that are already up on on the channel, so if you guys want to check those out, do so up in the top right there. But before I head to my friend's house to do some play testing as we head into Saturday tomorrow, I want to go over quickly what my rounds 1 and 2 matchups were, and then we'll go into detail over the rounds 3 and 4. But again, I don't want to take too much time, just talk about some brief details. But like, I can't even believe it. It's the first week. I was expecting this to take a little while if it was going to ever happen at all, but just boom, right there, first tournament we go to in the series, 4-0. What an amazing week so far, man. I can't believe it. All right, I've got the matches written down right here. Let's go over them really quickly. Round 1, we played against Sky Striker. Now, I will be honest, he is still new to the game and still learning quite a bit about it. And again, there is a lot to learn about Yu-Gi-Oh! So that may be part of the reason we ended up taking the dub. But I have played against Sky Striker several times before on Dueling Book, and it usually isn't that big of an issue because they can out towers. And once the transcode talker comes out, there's really not much they can do. Actually played against one last night on DB, and I played 3 matches and went 2-1, but we'll talk about that later. So round 1, we played against Sky Striker. We ended up winning 2-1, and funny story, that the only reason I actually ended up losing game 1 is because he had, I think, like a strike or 2 for both of my slugs, and I had already gone through my Sea Angel. So all of my Link 1s were gone, and it got to a point where I had like a Tang and a Seahorse in my hand, and due to mismanaging resources and not playing carefully enough, I literally did not have a single play to make. It would have taken me 2 turns to get 2 monsters on field to be able to make a Link 2 to recover, and I just did not have a chance to do that. So actually ended up losing game 1 because of that. And that's why resource management in Marincess is so incredibly important. Game 2, I went first and opened up full unaffected combo. My opponent could not out it with his striker cards at all. I then proceeded to OTK later with a transcode, Bell, Meister, and Phantasme. Helped seal the deal as well along the way. Yeah, like main deck Phantasme against Sky Striker. And then game 3, since I knew he was on the Mystic Mind strategy, I think I cited it in game 2, but it was the Cosmic Cyclones. Also ended up citing the Anti-Human Intelligence. So like I said, I did open up the Messiah, and I did part of the combo. I don't think I got all the way through. I think he may have had a hand trap, but eventually with him not being able to out the Messiah, every Sky Striker card he used eventually ended up getting banished, and it turned off his Hayate he tried to go into at some point, and then obviously Kagari could not add anything back either. He did a Shizuku end phase and added a Afterburners, thinking he could clear both my Link 1 and the Messiah, but forgot that he did not have enough spells in his grave to be able to use the secondary effect of Afterburners. And I don't think Jamming Waves was in his deck. It might have been. But either way, we end up taking the match there. Anti-Human Messiah coming in very clutch in game 3. And then round 2, we played against my good friend Fergus on Cyber Dragon. I was actually a little scared of this one just because contact fusioning is a huge no when it comes to playing Marincess. You put up one big monster in the extra monster zone, and as soon as they summon a Cyber Dragon, you start sweating because Mega Fleet is on its way. But we actually ended up winning 2-1. I win the die roll, I think. And then either way, I go first and do my full combo unaffected. My opponent leads with Cyber Emergency, and I decide to Ash it. He then summons a Cyber Dragon to Contact Fusion and swings for 2400 and pass. I believe my memory was a little foggy on this one, so bear with me. And then from here, I believe I reestablish after a turn or 2, and I go for game with the help of Wonder Heart. Just putting on enough damage. Card always comes in clutch. Every time I think about cutting it, I always remember the couple times it's literally let me win games, whether in time or just by sheer damage. Game 2, I ended up going second after siding Super Poly and Starving Venomin. My opponent ends up leading with Prosperity for 6, which I do Ash. From there, he normal summons Core Eye Valor. He plays Dupe to summon out 2 more, and then goes into Anaconda as expected, from which I did not have the stop for. I was able to survive somewhat on the next turn, but he proceeds to use Anaconda again to send Overload for the Rampage Dragon, and I basically get OTK'd from there. And then in Game 3, I sided out the Polys and put in Rivalry of the Warlords. So my opponent goes first and leads with a Prosperity, and after that he has to pass. I think he only banished 3 or something like that. After that on my turn, I basically comboed just into Blue Slug and Sea Angel. I was really scared of Nibiru, so I did not want to go for the 5th summon. Because I did not want to, again, lose my entire field to Nibiru because I did not have much in my hand to be able to recover. So after that, I swing in for 25, set the Rivalry and Wave, and pass. My opponent summons hers, and I decide to wave it, and the only reason I did that is because if he had Machine Dupe or something, he would not be able to contact fusion into like 2 Cyber Dragons. Again, I could have possibly just waited for him to use it, but I don't know, I just preemptively shotgunned the wave, which is probably a misplay looking back. By the way, he does actually have Dupe to summon 2 more. He then contacts fusions for Mega Fleet and makes Seeger to punch for some damage, and he then passes. On my turn, I do full combo, run over the Seeger and pass. He then links into an Anaconda, and he actually activates Cyber Rev System. And this is interesting because I've got that Rivalry of the Warlord set, and he has a plant on field. So I activate the Rivalry, and he plays in response to his Rev System, and the Rev System does not resolve because he has a plant on field with no plants engraved to revive, and he has to pass, and I OTK next turn. And now we'll go ahead and quickly take a look at rounds 2 and 3. So here we are in our round 3 matchup, and when I found out who my opponent was, I wasn't too happy, to be totally honest, mainly because it seems like they're always on some flavor of Dragoon Turbo, and Dragoon is not something I really like to play into with this specific deck, because Funny Purple Man certainly does hurt quite a bit, especially if it's brought out every single turn. But luckily, I did win the die roll, and I actually opened up with our 1-for-1 combo, and this is basically going to showcase why I really like 1-for-1 in this deck, because it's just full unaffected combo thanks to the help of Mandarin. Mandarin is such a good extender, and it also just happens to be a level 1 monster. So we 1-for-1 out the Mandarin, I link it for Slug, and you saw that I discarded Seahorse here off of the 1-for-1. I should have added that back off of the Blue Slug. Instead, I add back the Mandarin, which you could count technically as a misplay, because I should have just added back the Seahorse to have as an extender in hand if I needed it, and also a great starter on the following turn. And I normal summon the Mandarin too, which is also technically a misplay, because normal summoning the Blue Tang in my hand would have led to a higher ceiling, higher potential opening, because I could have normal summoned Tang, activated effect, even though I didn't need to because I already had access to Seahorse and Mandarin. So I didn't even need to use its on summon effect just to like kind of play around hand traps even more, but just link it off for Sea Angel to be able to not only chain block Sea Angel, but also to try to grab a copy of Wave out of the deck with Tang. So if I'm nitpicking, I think that's the only thing I really did wrong this turn. Other than that, we just kind of fast forward through it, and we end on our full unaffected combo with, I think, an Effect Veiler in hand, alongside 2 copies of Blue Tang and a Seahorse. And what do I draw in my opponent's standby phase off of my Bubble Reef? Another Seahorse and not another hand trap. You do really hate to see it, but basically, just to sum up my opponent's turn, he's not able to do anything to the Bubble Reef. He makes a Mechaba with Super Poly, he makes a Ragin, which only makes my Bubble Reef stronger, and then he just passes it back to me, where I put the Coral Anemone back onto the field thanks to Bubble Reef. I normal summon Blue Tang, expecting him to take the bait with Ragin, and he does. I then summon out Seahorse from hand to go into Transcode. I have to quickly go into the battle phase to clear the Mechaba so I don't lose the Transcode to it, but then Transcode brings back Anemone later, and I just kind of hang out on that board. Next turn, he has Red Ice Fusion, blows up 2, and passes, and then on the following turn, I'm able just to clear his Dragoon with ease, and then take the game from there just by swarming the field with a bunch of Marincess monsters, and then we move to Game 2. Now, in Game 2, there really isn't too much to talk about. It was a very simple game. My opening hand was Instant Fusion, Silent Angler, Ash, Skullmeister, and Effect Veiler, so no starters whatsoever, but I do at least have 2 extenders, so I can kind of make a play, but not really a play at all at the same time. So I'm basically just forced to pass on my opening turn. So my opponent leads with Red Ice Fusion. Luckily, I have the Ash for it. Literally just frame 1 Ash, and then he has to pass after setting 1. I draw another Silent Angler for turn. Again, no starters here whatsoever, so I just pass it back to my opponent, who has another Red Ice Fusion, which I'm not able to stop. He gets into Dragoon, swings in for 3k, and passes. Now, I actually draw Battle Ocean on my turn, which is really interesting because I'm like, I could actually just sneak right into an unaffected Bubble Reef right now if he doesn't have the cards to stop it. So I go ahead and activate Instant Fusion, summon out Rare Fish, I normal summon Silent Angler, link into Crystal Heart, and then summon a Silent Angler again from my hand. and then I activate the field spell, which he actually lets go through to my surprise. I then link up into Coral Anemone, and I use Anemone effect to try to bring one back, and he actually does have a Cosmic for the field spell. So the whole plan just falls apart right there, and we head into game 3. And then that brings us to game 3, where I did open pretty good, actually. I started with the 4-Mud Skipper, which did resolve here. I revealed a Blue Slug, and I linked it into a Blue Slug. Now, I did make a small misplay here. The more optimal way to play this out, I'm finding, especially if you open up Skipper with a Water Extender, is to link the Skipper into Sea Angel, so you can chain block the Sea Angel Surge with 4-Mud Skipper getting you Scripton. And then once you do all of that, you just summon the Scripton, link the Sea Angel and Scripton into Crystal Heart, then summon the Seahorse that I hard opened to link into Anemone, which would be unaffected with the field spell, and then Anemone bring out Crystal Heart, and then into Bubble Reef, etc., etc. But I linked into a Blue Slug for some reason, and then went into Sea Angel after the fact. So, like, luckily it didn't matter because I still had full unaffected combo regardless, but I just didn't do it in the most optimal way. And if we want to win matches with this deck, it is important that we play perfect as much as we possibly can. But on my opponent's turns, to my surprise, he actually just goes right into the battle phase, and I'm like, oh, I know it's coming. Here comes Evenly Matched. And luckily, deciding what to banish for Evenly was really, really easy. Obviously, I just keep my Bubble Reef with the, absurd amount of hand traps I had in my hand. I think I had Ash, Veiler, Wave, and maybe a Bell or a Meister. My opponent started with Terraforming to basically get Light Stage. Goes into Alistair, goes into Anaconda. We hit it with a Wave, and he just passes after setting one. On my turn, I just bring out Anemone with the Bubble Reef, go into Transcode. Transcode brings out Anemone, and we just swing in basically for game since he paid 2k on the previous turn. So that is that match. Let's take a look at match 4. So currently undefeated, we head into round 4, where I was expecting to play either one of two things: a meta deck or some extremely weird rogue strategy that just happened to have a good matchup against a lot of meta decks. But it ended up being Drytron, and losing die roll against this deck feels so bad. Luckily, I did open up a couple hand traps. Not the highest impact ones, but, still hand traps nonetheless. We had Veiler, and I think maybe double Phantasme. My opponent opened up with Emergency, added Alpha, and pitched Gamma. Was really relieved to not see Zeta. But fast forward through his combo, he actually made a Linktrebo, which made my Phantasme live, which I was not expecting him to play into, and it forced him to burn an Ash. And then I Veilered his Mubeta Fafnir, where he just opted to go to plan B to make the Anaconda, and he went into Dragoon, and then from there he just passed, where I decided I would start with the Signet Mining that I actually top decked, trying to, play it off as bait, and he took the bait, which I was shocked to find out he did. But from there, I knew the last card in his hand, and then I normal Blue Tang, and we went into our full unaffected combo, where we were able to run over his Dragoon for 600. And then during his standby phase, we banished a card to draw, and I think I had double Wave at this point, so I Wave his Diviner, and then he climbs into a Boral Sword and kills our Bubble Reef. I do resolve a Phantasme in the process, and then next turn, we're able to climb all the way up into Wonderheart to OTK with the help of the Marbled Rock and Phantasme. And there isn't much to see in game 2 because my opponent did brick. I think he sided in a little too much spell and trap removal, since his opening was like double Twin Twister, Imperm, Call By, and Meteona. So he just set 3 cards and pass. I started with Signet for Blue Tang. He did Veiler the Blue Tang, which kind of hurt. I then just kind of plan B linked into Slug, Chainlink 1 Slug, Chainlink 2 Tang. He tried to Call By the Blue Tang, and I was forced to use a Bell there, which I didn't feel too bad about, mainly because I had Droll in hand already. And my Blue Tang did unfortunately miss, and I just swing it for 15 and pass. He just passes on his next turn because I think he drew Dark Magician of all cards. Our Blue Tang goes through uninterrupted, dumping Seahorse, and then we're able to climb yet again into our Bubble Reef with the help of Marbled Rock, actually. He did twin our field spell, but again, we didn't care because I think we ended our turn with having Bell, Droll, Meister, and Valor in hand. So no matter what he drew, he was not playing through 4 hand traps. So that's our 4th and final round for Tuesday, and we ended up going 4-0. Deck profile again coming very soon. I literally still cannot believe it that we've already gone 4-0 with our deck of choice this month, and the first week isn't even over. Like, where do we go from here? We've already set the bar so high. I guess the real challenge now is going to be if we can do it back to back, right? If we could go 4-0 tomorrow, that would be insane. I mean, we could just literally coast the rest of the month and probably win just as much store credit as we did last time with Drytron. Which, if we ended up doing better with this deck than we did with Drytron, I've been playing the wrong deck for many, many years. No. But obviously, really happy to see that we've started off this strong. And in order to help secure a potential 4-0 tomorrow, I am going to a friend's house right now to get in some testing for the remainder of the night. And there's just a few things I really want to test. I mean, I might just be nitpicking at this point. I think the build is in a really good position. I don't really see too many things kind of standing out as a major problem, which I guess is really, really good. I don't want to just end up making changes for the sake of making changes if we don't need to at the end of the day. But if there's one thing here, it's probably that the deck does lack a decent amount of good extenders that do things on their own. Scripton is a perfect example, and so is Silent Angler, right? They're great extenders, but again, they don't do much on their own. We already need cards in played, but again, that's possibly nitpicking. And the last thing is Cynet mining. I really do possibly want to try like cutting that card in place of some other form of consistency. Maybe Pot of Prosperity, maybe Pot of Desires. But then these are just like experimental, kind of outside of the box ideas. Nothing that I'm probably going to be trying at least this coming Saturday. The list I played on Tuesday is probably going to be the same exact list I played on Saturday. But yeah, just wanted to update you guys on that. Wanted to share with you that epic performance. And with that being said, I will just see you guys later. So welcome everybody to Saturday. Just finished uploading a brand new episode of the Duel Archives. It was a really awesome Dragon Ruler mirror match between some of the greatest players of all time, Billy Brake and Fraser Smith. Go check it out if you haven't seen it already. But as I get ready to head out to locals here in a few minutes, I want to talk to you guys about some of the changes I made as a result of last night's testing. Now, you could view this as a good and bad thing from my perspective, but the only deck I really had to play against last night was Virtual World, which is good because that matchup is almost impossible for Marincess to beat, mainly because Shen. I need to out it mainly in the battle phase or with access code, but it is extremely hard to climb to access code without the help of my graveyard. Anemone has no targets to bring back, and neither does transcode. So I had to work our side deck to be able to out such cards, and I also tweaked our extra deck to make it a little bit more useful, and along with it some slight tweaks to the main deck, but nothing too big overall. So one of the first changes I ended up making was dropping Super Polymerization and its targets from the side deck completely, and I'm deciding to put Dark Ruler No More in the main, mainly to have a good out to just Shen. Yes, Super Poly would be great to out both Crystal Wing and Shen, but Dark Ruler No More essentially does the same thing, and if they end on just Shen with no other win target for Super Poly, it's completely dead. Also, side note, the entire time I've been siding Super Poly, I've never drawn it once. Not one single time. I swear, that card hates me. But of course, taking the Super Polys out of the side deck comes with 2 extra side deck slots that we get to experiment with, and I was looking at cards like Gamma Seal or more hand traps, and I decided to go with the additional copies of Phantasmate and Ghost Spell alike, so if we need to, we can side those in going second in games 2 or 3. I was going to go with Gamma Seal, but I think Dark Ruler is already enough as is, and Dark Ruler is capable with dealing a lot more than Gamma Seal is as well. But one of the cool changes I made to the extra deck was I actually dropped the Rare Fish and the Millennium Eyes in place for Sea Monster of Theseus and the Adamancipator Risen Dragite. And one of the reasons I did this is because now we actually have access to a spell and trap negate, which is rather important if we're really trying to protect our field spell if we don't have cards like Wave. Not to mention, if we resolve Wave, we can protect both Dragite and our Bubble Reef from our opponent's card effects, which is really, really insane. And Sea Monster of Theseus, much like Rare Fish, can just be a simple water extender at the end of the day. It doesn't really have to be a level 4 for any specific reason. The only reason I was playing the Rare Fish over the Sea Monster was because of its attack stat. But in all the testing and playing that I've done, I've never really had or had the need to or like really had to bring a Rare Fish back off an anemone, and I found that times that I am doing that, I'm in a losing situation regardless, because I had no other waters engraved to revive. So yeah, and I'm also dropping the Instant Fusion and with it Millennium Eyes, and I know a lot of people might not think that's a great idea, but I am going to be putting the 3rd copy of Triple Tactics Talent into the main deck. And the reason I'm doing this is because far too many times has I opened Signet Mining and it's gotten ashed, and I did not have a talents in hand to punish them. Which would have been really nice to follow up and draw 2, because 1-for-1 and Signet Mining are literally just hand trap bait, and I think honestly Talents is a little bit more higher impact than Instant Fusion for a card like Millennium Eyes Restrict. So that is why I'm making the switch. I was going to cut the area Water Charmer Gentle to play either a Coral Dragon to be able to synchro with our Sea Monster and either our 4 Mud Skipper or our Mandarin, but I felt like that was a little too niche. And, you know, it'd be cool, you could link it off to draw a card, right? That'd be kind of cute, but I decided against it. And I was also thinking about playing Ravenous Crocosaur to be able to synchro with any level 4, whether it be the Blue Tang or Angler, to go into Crocosaur with the Sea Monster. But again, I just don't really find it too useful, and I think the area in the extra deck is a lot more important for what that card specifically does for our strategy. Allows us to play through Nibiru and other cards like Contact Sea, which may become problematic at some point. So that's why I'm playing it. I think it's just too good to not play for those really sticky situations we might find ourselves in the very near future. And yeah, those are all the changes that I've made to the deck, and I don't think I'm going to change anything else. We'll just see how today goes, and I think we get a little bit of a chance to experiment since we did so well on Tuesday, so there isn't as much pressure to perform today, which feels really nice. And we were also looking last night, like all of my friends were all looking for Cyberse extenders, because I feel like if we could replace Silent Angler with some other water Cyberse extender, it'd be so much better. But unfortunately, you know, there aren't really any good Cyberse water extenders. I was looking at Backup Secretary as being a possible replacement, but the thing is, you're locked into waters very early on in the combo, and Silent Angler just again proves to be better. Balancer Lord I was looking at, but then again, it's literally just Pascalis, but in a different form. So yeah, I think everything is fine for now, and I'm going to go ahead and pack up, and we're going to get out of here. Alright everybody, we are at Locals now. It is currently just after 6 o'clock, so we're arriving right when we want to, and I think you guys already know the drill at this point, so let's just continue the B-roll montage.
Start it up!
Yo!
What's good? We out here!
Yo,
Let's go, man!
Okay, welcome to round 1. If you guys remember what we played on Tuesday, we actually are playing against our round 3 opponent from Tuesday. He was on the Invoked Trickstar Dragoon strategy, and today he decided he would switch it up to play the Charmer Dragoon strategy. So just a different flavor of Dragoon Turbo. So at least going into this, I was expecting Dragoon Turbo, just not the Charmer variant, because it does end on actually some really good counters to the deck we're playing, which is really unfortunate. And to make matters worse, I do lose the die roll, and he goes first to basically end on a Anaconda with 1 set back row, thanks to having an Effect Veiler. So he was not able to fully establish Dragoon, but he was able to get the Charmer Trap card, which would basically act as a non-target pop during my turn, which Phantasme cannot protect against. So unfortunately, after I resolved my Blue Tang, he popped it, and I literally had no follow-up. kind of makes me want to play Monster Reborn looking forward. My only move after that was to attack over his Anaconda and pass, and then next turn he slaps down a Red Eyes Fusion, and Dragoon burns my Phantasme away. I take 24, and he swings in with everything else, and it's literally just game right then and there. And unfortunately, in game 2, things did not get any better. I drew my opening 5 only to find no engine, no starters whatsoever, so I'm literally forced to pass. My opponent opens with the same combo he did the previous turn to grab his Charmer Trap card, and then he's normal summoned the Fairy Tale Luna and basically linked into the Anaconda, where I tried to Phantasme to draw into more engine cards, possibly more hand traps for his Anaconda, but he had the Ash, and the Anaconda successfully resolved summoning out Dragoon, and I took a whopping 3,500 damage. And on my next turn, it was very bittersweet drawing a 1-for-1 because as I activated it, I knew he was going to negate it, no questions asked, and I had to scoop after that because the rest of my hand was Wave, Ash, Phantasme, and Ghost Bell. So unfortunately, we take a very quick L here in round 1.
I'm gonna record some ambience and put it in this track.
Alright, we just finished up round 2, and we're able to bring it back. We did win. We played against a Dark Magician deck, and luckily for us, there was no Dragoon in his extra deck. He told me in advance, so I was like extremely relieved to hear that. He's a very nice guy, though. Awesome to play against. Always a pleasure. I actually did lose game 1, though, because he won die roll, and he got set up the Eternal Soul with Magician Circle, and that banish of my normal summon every turn just prevented me from playing at all. But then games 2 and 3, I was able just to fully establish combo. Game 3, he bricked because he went to go first, and he did not open up well. And then on my turn, I was just again able to reestablish and do full Bubble Reef combo, and he was not able to out it both games 2 and 3. It was weird though. A lot of my hand traps didn't do anything. Phantasme was completely dead. Talents never resolved it once. Was able to actually put back though my Sea Monster of Theseus off of Scripton. Because I was able to bring the Scripton back off of Anemone, and then link off the Anemone and the Scripton for Marbled Rock, and then chainlink 1 Anemone, chainlink 2 Scripton, put back Sea Monster, and then add back a card off of Anemone. And then I was actually able to make Dragite too, which was super cool. So I'll probably show that on the screen right now for you guys. But yeah, pretty good match, and hopefully we can win out. Hopefully we don't have to play any more Dragoon turbo decks, even though there was no Dragoon in that deck. But you guys know what I mean. So I'll update you guys after round 3 or round 4 once the tournament is all over. And here we are in round 3, where our opponent was on the Drytron strategy, and luckily for us, we did win the die roll, unlike last time. Unfortunately, though, I had to start with Signet Mining, and I had to discard an Effect Veiler, which I didn't really want to do. Another reason why I just am not a huge fan of Signet. I understand it's a bit of a necessary evil, but still having to discard a hand trap off of it feels so counterproductive, especially when it gets met with an Ash, and it always gets hit with an Ash, just like it does here. But luckily, I have a Talents to follow up. Now, I should have drawn 2 cards off of this, knowing that he was not going to have an Ash to stop it since he just used one. But to play it safe, I decided to take a look at his hand, seeing that I already have a starter, but no Water Extender, unfortunately, to go with it. Means I'm going to have full combo, but just not full unaffected combo. I take a look at the hand. He has Emergency, Nova, Diviner, and Zeta, and from my past experience playing this deck, I know that is an insane hand. Really, really, really strong. So I decided just to put back the Nova because I don't think there's really like a truly perfect choice. I just thought Nova might be the best. And then I proceed to normal 4-Mud Skipper, revealing Sea Angel, and then I link the Skipper into Sea Angel, and I chain block the Sea Angel with 4-Mud Skipper in order to add Scripton and our field spell. And then I summon the Scripton, link the Scripton and Sea Angel into Splash Mage. Splash Mage revives the Scripton. Link both of those into Anemone. Anemone brings out the Splash Mage, and then we link into our Bubble Reef. And we're only unfortunately able to equip it with 1 here, as I use Anemone to return the Sea Angel back to the extra deck. And during his standby phase, I believe I draw into an Ash, and I also have a Ready Fusion in hand. So I'm glad I at least have 1 hand trap to try to slow him down, and I know exactly what I'm going to use it on. course, it's going to be the Alpha. So on his turn, he starts with the Emergency to add Alpha, and then he actually starts with Drytron Fafnir to add the Nova that I just shuffled back into his deck. So we'll go ahead and fast forward through his combo here. He's basically able to get to Draconids, Beatrice, and Mubeta. And to my surprise, he actually never enters the battle phase despite Draconids being able to get over my Bubble Reef. And he actually just decides to pass turn with the board he currently has. We draw a card, and then during our standby phase, we draw another where he does chain the Draconids to banish one to send off our Bubble Reef. From here, I tried to add back off of my Anemone, and he negates it with a Go spell, and after that, he uses the Beatrice to dump an Eva to add Orange and Diviner, which is going to be pretty problematic because my only follow-up play from here is to be able to make Area the Water Charmer, crash into his Mubeta, and attempt to search a starter, but he does have the Orange Light to negate it, and after that, I just scoop, and we head to game 2. And this brings us to a game 2 where we do have a little bit better luck. We're able to open the Seahorse plus a Water Extender, so we do have our full unaffected combo so long as he has no interruptions. So we are able to climb up into Bubble Reef no problem, and we have our fully unaffected board, and we pass it over to him. And we do have a decent amount of hand traps in our hand. I think we have Ash, Droll, and Valor. So feeling confident enough to be able to stop a Drytron turn here. He starts with Emergency, which is really good because I just Droll on Resolution. And thankfully, he does not have an Orange Light. After that, he goes ahead and brings out Gamma with Zeta, goes into Nightmare Phoenix to clear the field spell, which I'm okay with just because there's really no threat to us here at this point. He normal summons Diviner. I Ash it. He makes Line of the Light Charmer and passes turn. We start our turn off by drawing 2 thanks to Bubble Reef, and we quickly climb up into an access code to secure the game. And just like that, we're on to a game 3. So it all comes down to this. We need to win this game in order to not go X2 and not secure any store credit. So our opponent obviously decides to go first. He normal summons Diviner to send the Herald of the Arclight to add Meteonis Drytron. And I do get lucky enough here to open the Droll. So on Resolution, I do fire off the Droll. And again, luckily for us, no Orange Light. But he does have a copy of Gamma. He pitches off the Ida 10. He then uses Meteonis to bring out the Ida 10 to go into Beatrice. Beatrice goes ahead and sends an Alpha. And thankfully, after he sends the Alpha, he has no extenders or no other form of follow-up, so he ends his turn. Now, I did draw into a Dark Ruler, was another card I sided in, and for obvious reasons. But I do fire off the Dark Ruler because I do not want to let him get access to an Orange and a Diviner because that could very easily stop our turn if he happens to use it at the correct time. So we fire off the Dark Ruler, then we fire off a Cyanide Mining, discarding a Seahorse. We then normal summon Blue Tang, and Blue Tang unfortunately does get hit with an Ash, but it's not such a huge deal because we're still able to link into Slug, which can get back our Seahorse, and unfortunately our Blue Tang only finds another copy of itself. After that, we summon out the Seahorse, go into Sea Angel, add the field spell, go into Crystal Heart, and we do have the Water Extender in the form of Ready Fusion, so we are able to climb into our fully unaffected board, and we do take out the Beatrice, and we have to pass from there. So we did a good job at stopping his first turn. We cleared his board and established our own. The only problem is I did not draw into any other hand traps whatsoever, and my opponent has a pretty loaded graveyard, and he top decked a Drytron Nova. So he just basically does full combo, climbs into Nightmare Phoenix with the help of Natasha, and just OTKs us, and there's nothing else I can do. Turns out, not drawing any hand traps is really terrible against Drytron, but instead I draw into a Cyanide Mining. You really gotta hate to see it. Alright, the tournament has just finished up. Round 4 matchup was just recorded. Fun fact, I actually forgot to hit the record button at the start of round 2, so I did not get that matchup, unfortunately, but luckily I have some extra footage this week, so I don't really need it, but it would have been nice to have, of course. Round 3, I played against Drytron. Same Drytron player my brother had to play against in round 1, I think. We lost game 1 just because he was doing Drytron things and I couldn't keep up. One game 2 because he could not out my board and be able to OTK with access code. And then game 3, really interesting game. He went first, I drolled him, he ended on Beatrice, I had to Dark Ruler just to prevent him from getting an Orange Light off an Ava, and I established Bubble Reef, and unfortunately I just drew a lot of engine and no hand traps, kind of not that perfect ratio we're looking for, and I didn't have any hand traps for him. Like, I drew off my Bubble Reef, I drew a Sign Up Mining, and unfortunately I cannot stop any of his cards with Seahorses, Blue Tangs, or Sign Up Minings that were all in my hand, so needless to say, he was able to come back and murder me with Natasha after he popped my field spell with Nightmare Phoenix. So he literally had the perfect out. Like, Drytron has like the perfect out for it. Just not enough hand traps at the end of the day is what it is. I think I might want to try Nibiru in the main at some point as like a failsafe if our field spell gets cleared and we don't have wave. So I'm thinking about possibly putting that in. And I usually side out wave if I'm going second because it's terrible going into a board. So I might put Nibiru in its place. So I don't know. This is going to wrap up the tournament. I'm going to get a profile and then we'll go home and just kind of wrap up the entire week so far because there's a lot to talk about. Alright, so that is going to wrap up today's locals. Definitely a very, very poor performance as opposed to what happened on Tuesday. I ended up not playing my last round just because I didn't really feel like playing in it. I didn't really feel like there was too much to learn or gain from playing that last round anyways. The goal for this week is to spend a lot of time on Dueling Book, just get some repetitions in, and hopefully through all those matches, I can start to see where the main problem of this deck lies. Besides from the obvious, like losing to Nibiru, which I think I've already secured a set of Nibirus come this next Tuesday or Saturday. So we should have them for next week, and luckily I won't have to order them online. I also picked up these two bad boys as well, just because if I ever do decide to play Parallel Exceed in this deck, I've got the Gravediggers Trap Holes for the Rafflesia. So yeah, that's it. I'm gonna go home, we're gonna eat, and then we'll wrap up this episode. All right, everybody, it is time for the wrap up for this week with Marincess. One thing I want to say right off the bat is that this deck is definitely exceeding my expectations. Despite tonight's shortcomings and our really, really bad performance, we did actually secure our first 4-0/first place finish within our first week, which is insane. And by the way, I will be uploading the first place deck profile the following day that this video goes up because, again, I don't want to leave spoilers for this episode. So be on the lookout for that, where I'll be in front of the camera instead of behind it like usually. Now I just want to go over our tournament tonight. And the first thing I want to talk about is our round 1 matchup, and specifically game 1, where I opened double Valor Phantasme Talents and a Seahorse, I think. And my Phantasme like drew me into a Silent Angler and an Ash. Now, I knew I would have the Valor for his Anaconda, so he wasn't going to get Dragoon out. So, I don't know why I kept the Talents. I don't know what I thought I was going to resolve the Talents with since he wasn't getting Dragoon on board. Like, if I didn't have a way to stop him from getting Dragoon, I probably should have kept the Talents, right? At least that makes the most sense. So it sucks that I know I lost because I put the Ash back because, like, he had a Red Eyes Fusion the next turn, and that just ended up costing me the game because he was just going to be able to OTK me because for some reason, Dragoon can just pop and burn on top of being an Omni Negate. I can't wait till that card is gone, or the easy ways to summon it are gone. I literally cannot wait. Like, I don't care if Konami changes anything else. Just get rid of Dragoon. Please, please, please. That is, like, the biggest thing on my wish list as far as the upcoming format is. Just get rid of Dragoon. I don't care about anything else. Maybe hitting Tri-Brigade, but, like, that's it. Like, oh my god, I want Dragoon gone so bad. But, alas, enough of me whining about the big funny fusion, man. The next thing I want to talk about really quick is the gripes and problems I have with the deck right now. The first is Sign at Mining. I hate Sign at Mining. I hate that being my only starter, and then my opponent has an Ash, and then I have to pass. I hate that. I want to get rid of Sign at Mining. I don't know how. I don't think I can. The other thing is the deck needs more draw power. I don't know how I'm going to incorporate that into the deck. I really can't afford to play Prosperity because I need most of my extra deck. Granted, I don't, but if I, Prosperity away half my extra deck, then I don't have a grind game. So that ends up being problematic. And then the last thing I want to talk about is my plans going forward. I'm going to do a lot of grinding on DB this week. I might not go to my locals on Tuesday just to play more Dueling Book. And then Saturday, we can just go at it again and see what we can do. I am going to try Nibiru in the main. I think I already secured my playset coming up. Thanks to actually my round 1 opponent. He's coming in with a hookup to get me a playset of gold Nibirus. So definitely going to be adding those in the main deck. I think it's going to be a really good plan B. Like if they out our field spell and we don't have towers anymore, Nibiru is a great high impact hand trap to have, even if we lose our Bubble Reef. But yeah, that's going to do it for this episode of One Deck One Month. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to see more of my content, click on one of the videos popping up on the bottom of the screen right now. And yeah, Winter Kill sign out. We'll see you guys in the next one. And like always, a huge shout out goes to our Divine level channel members, and they are Cadillacs84, Pony Star, Keith Sigers, and Daryl Best. Thank you guys so much as always.